Hey folks, Brent here from Impact Consulting and Training. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. The world's going crazy, isn't it? Well, it was expected. We expected this to happen and have been expecting it. I talked about it in my last video entitled Lighthouse Leadership and Racism. It's been boiling under the surface for quite some time, and we all know this in reality. So this is what we do at Impact Consulting and Training. We talk about the elephant in the room. With that being said, a couple of folks reached out to me in private message and asked me what I would do in this situation that's happening in Seattle, where a group of individuals came together and took over 6 city blocks within Seattle, shutting down businesses, personal businesses, taking livelihoods away from people. Nobody's going in and buying anything. They're actually asking for help and donations, and people are sending it. So we've got a disconnect here. Well, this is the thing. Protesting is a good thing. Making your voice heard is a good thing. We believe in that, freedom of speech. But when you directly impact other people around you, their livelihood and their businesses and possibility to feel safe in their environment, it impacts a bigger group of people than just the selfish protesters that took over this place. And if you watch some of the news and stuff like this, they're not really protesting. They're how can I say this? They're taking away from people. Okay, so with their selfish beliefs, they're taking away from people that do earn money in these businesses and stuff like this. And this is what I was wanting to talk to you about. Brent, what would you do? Well, my partner and I, it's no secret, we're both U.S. Army retired veterans, and one of my personal people that I follow and really like is a man who lived over 2,500 years ago, and his philosophies are still taught in business schools. So they've converted his teachings into business schools and stuff like this. In some Japanese corporates, you must know this man and you must have read this one book in order to get into the executive level of some certain Japanese firms. And it's still taught, he's still taught, his philosophies are still taught in the U.S. military, officer schools and stuff like this. Does anybody know who I'm talking about? Anybody? If you do, I'm going to say it anyway, but if you do, put the name down below in the comments section. But he was very wise and ahead of his time back in his day. And I'm going to let you know who it is, but as it goes on, so we're students of this guy. And he was very right. It was different times back then, obviously, different expectations, different standards, different accountability. And I know we're not in that world right now. However, his philosophies, his strategies still hold true today and are used every day, still today. So with this thing that's happening in Seattle, Washington right now, this would be my approach. So this man that I'm talking about, one of his philosophies is the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. So basically, don't fight. Okay? Don't fight against these protesters at all. Just back off. Just back off. Secure the perimeter, okay? So make a perimeter around where the protesters are at. And I think you've seen this. This is basically what they've been doing, and they've been trying to negotiate and stuff like this. But the downfall of this kind of thing is they're not being held accountable for what their actions, and they're adults. And the thing is, Another thing that this man said that we're students of and we follow today is victorious winners, or excuse me, victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. Basically, what that means is think before you act. Be responsible in your decisions. Who is it going to impact? What is your decision, your strategy, your action? Who is that going to impact? These people that are in there are adults. They're different groups. I think they're called CHOP, is what the news has been talking about and stuff like this. And these are adults that made this decision because of the situation with the racism and what happened with those individual police officers, the bad nuts. Again, I'm going to refer you to my last talk that I gave that was entitled Lighthouse Leadership and Racism. So I talked about this because it's a very important issue that's been boiling under the surface, and you'll see this in the last talk if you go to that, and I'll try to link it in the video somewhere on YouTube because I know they can do it. I just got to figure out how to do it, but I'll link that video there. To the people that are inside this 6-block area, if you follow these things, I've got a series on survival and stuff like this. Now is the time. The environment isn't safe, so my next suggestion to you would be to get out of that environment. Find a safe environment as quickly and as safely as you can. Because the way things are happening, it won't end well. There will be hurt people. But moving on from this aspect of it, the first thing that I would do is I would order the police not to go in. Simply surround the area, removing any kind of exit area for these people except for one exit area. The police are in total control of the area right now, or should be if they haven't done that. And the thing is, leave one area open and communicate that to the people inside. If they want to get out, there's one way in and one way out. So another thing this man talked about that I follow and respect very much, the man who lived 2,500 years ago, about one of his philosophy was build your opponent a golden bridge to retreat across. So never completely close off a retreat. Open that bridge for where they can make a decision and come out safely. So what this is reminding me of is when I was in the military, I went to East Berlin. There was a military base there, obviously. And excuse me, not East Berlin. I went to Berlin. And Berlin was situated in East Germany. And there was one way in and one way out. And this was a really good thing. But while I was there, I witnessed that it was a big propaganda city. So West Berlin was capitalism, lights, brights, and parties, and everything you wanted was there. And then you had East Berlin, that was communist and dark and dingy and cold and no choices. And there was a light and night difference in that aspect of things. And this is exactly what I would do right here, okay? I would make an example out of this. I would surround the perimeter, leaving one way in and one way out from the external perspective. A siege tactic, if you will. It works. And leaving that one exit in and one exit out, or that one entry in and one exit out, excuse me, would be my approach. And then I would support the police with the National Guard. National Guard are Army units, civilians that play Army or defend their state in the event of an emergency. So I would support those side of things. And then I would start negotiations. But I would not allow food and stuff to go in. I would not allow water because these people need to learn a lesson. And lessons can be very hard. And this is the only way people will actually change. It's something that I talk about all the time. The only way people will change is through trauma. And that's where we're at right now. So nobody is right in this situation right now, but these people that have taken over this area of Seattle need to be taught a lesson. They are adults. They made the decision to do this, to take this step, and they didn't think about it before they did it. They just went in and they did it. And it puts people's businesses on hold. They can't make a living. So they not only impacted themselves, they also impacted the people that are in there by controlling them, basically. And we were just coming out of this coronavirus, but again, we're not out of this coronavirus. It's still out there, and it's going to continue to be out there. But they came out of this. People have lost jobs. They're angry with everybody. The racism is really rampant right now. So it's like a double whammy what's going on. And I would even call it a triple whammy because people are really, really upset right now, and rightfully so. And it's not just America, guys. It's all over the planet. It's all over the planet. If you've been following, Beijing just locked down Beijing because of the coronaviruses. So we're going back into the failure of leadership. And how did we get to this point? Through pacifying, through wanting to get votes, through listening to people, not leading people, by losing our morals, ethics, principles, and values, by pandering to businesses. This is how we got to this point. And it needs to stop. But the thing is, we're here now. There is light on the other side. And we got to get through this. But in order to teach people lessons, we got to be punched in the face sometimes. And this is where we're at. So the man I'm talking about, who we follow and respect very much, the man who lived over 2,500 years ago, his name is Sun Tzu, or Sun Tzu. And he wrote the book, The Art of War. And his philosophies and his strategies and his tactics are still used today and still taught today, not just by the U.S. military or militaries globally, but corporations, by officer schools. Certain corporations in Japan have to read him, this philosophy, this art of war, in order to become an executive in certain Japanese corporations. He was very wise, very ahead of his time. And again, he lived over 2,500 years ago. Now, I know we're not in that age right now. Different life, different age, different expectations, different standards from 2,500 years ago. But his thoughts, his beliefs, his philosophies, his strategies still hold true today. We at Impact Consulting and Training support the local law enforcement and the big law enforcement. I said in my last video as well, again, I'm going to link it somewhere on YouTube, that no organization is perfect. And I even added the U.S. military. No organization is perfect. There are problems in every organization. How can we get things better? How can we make things better? By putting leaders in positions to where they hold themselves to account. They raise the bar. They raise their standards. They know they can do better. Stop focusing on the stock prices going up and down. Start focusing on the people. The stock prices will take care of themselves if you take care of your people. Raising those standards, those personal standards, it's a really hard thing to do because we get so defocused by the money. Well, if we can start focusing on the people and what really matters, then things will work out. If not, eventually, the workforce on the planet's going to run out. So, with that being said, my business partner and I, Chris and myself, we want to send a message of solidarity out to the law enforcement in America, the good ones. No organization is perfect. We know there's bad apples and bad seeds everywhere. And to come together, watch out for your brother to your left and your sister to your right. Work it. Take charge. Sometimes you have to raise your voice to be heard, and that's what's happening. We support you. Be safe out there. I'm going to be closing this video down now. If you'd like to like and subscribe to our channel, follow the links down below, the little streaming thing down below. I'll try to upload or link the videos that I had done prior to this in the YouTube upload. But it's a hard time, and we knew this was coming, folks. There's no surprise. Okay, it needs to be done, like I said in my last video, that you'll be able to see if you want to read it. It's time, okay? But now we need to take a step back. We need to breathe. We need to clear the battlefield, the fog, to see where we're at and see how we move forward right now. So my approach would be the best way to win a war, win a fight, is not to fight, but control the perimeter. The external perimeter, okay? The outcome needs to be a good outcome. Will it be a good outcome? It's the belief system that's on the inside of that Seattle situation that's going to let it know if it's going to be a good outcome or not. And there's a way to make it better than it can be. The strategy can be better. Again, these are adults that took this decision. And they directly impacted people that didn't want to be there with businesses and stuff like this. So they're losing money, losing their livelihoods, and that's just not good. I think everybody would agree with that. I mean, would you allow people to come in and take over a room in your apartment or house and say, not until you give me what I want will I give you your apartment or your room back? Of course you wouldn't do that. I don't care who you are, you wouldn't do that. Well, this is what they're doing. This is what these people are doing. And they didn't think before they did that. But by surrounding that siege strategy, not allowing food and drink and water, people are going to get tired. They're going to start turning on each other. But you need to offer them that way out, that golden bridge, as Sun Tzu would say. That path of redemption to get out of that situation, to learn that lesson. So that would be my approach to this whole thing, okay? I would follow the teachings of Sun Tzu in this approach. And that's all I've got to say about this. Whether you agree with it or not, it's irrelevant. They have freedom of speech, of course, but they don't have the freedom to take over people's businesses, to steal food. They don't have that freedom. That's selfishness. And that's where we have to draw the line. So again, this is Brent. Thank you for listening. If you like what I say here, if you like what we say here, please subscribe, follow, share the video if you would. Every little bit helps. We do appreciate your help. And we know the world's a mess right now. So this is where common sense leadership comes into it. This is what we're about. This, again, is impact consulting and training. We're not afraid to talk about the elephant in the room. We're not afraid to work with people and develop strategies to come up with common solutions in reality. Simply hiding or sweeping these issues under the carpet is not an answer, because it will continue to boil and create toxicity in your organizations and on the planet. You're seeing it every day now. So what kind of leaders do you want? Moral, ethic, principles, and values? These are questions you should ask yourself. And we're here to help you guys walk through it if you need to. Contact us any way you can through these things below, and we'll talk to you later. We do love you. There is light on the end of the tunnel. Give me a fist bump. Boom. Stay safe. And we're thinking about you guys. Ciao for now.